So, master your mind. The average human has somewhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. I mean, no wonder our heads are just so full of stuff, okay? The scary thing is, there's a pretty good chance that most of those thoughts are the same as one we had yesterday. And guess what? They're going to be the same thoughts we have tomorrow, okay? And they're not all doing us value, or they're not operating on our best interest, those thoughts. So, how do we start to control the thoughts? Well, not surprisingly, we use a technique called goal setting, okay? Because goals allows us to focus. And that means that when we have a thought, we can then question, is that thought in alignment with my goals or is it not? And if it is, I can take it with me. And if it's not, I hopefully can dispense with it. Now, this is easy to say, but not always easy to put in place. We generally, the human DNA will give us 5 negative thoughts for every positive thought. It's just the way that we're wired. And if we think back about our reptilian brain, and that's the part that sort of says the flight or fight mode, is that, we've recognized that there's a lion there. So we need to go, you know what, there's a lion there. I need to protect myself. So most of our thoughts are about protecting ourselves. So naturally, they tend to be negative. They tend to be about protection and looking after ourselves as opposed to positive thinking. So we often have to work very hard at positive thinking over negative thinking. The other interesting statistic is this, is that when we have a negative thought, it immediately transfers from short-term to long-term memory, because we need to store that for the future. We need to know that lion is danger for us. When we have a positive thought, it can take anywhere between 15 to 20 seconds to transfer from short-term to long-term memory. Now, you might go, well, 15 to 20 seconds is not very long. However, it is actually an extremely long amount of time. So I'll give you an example. Very much, I suppose, the Australian way is, someone might give you a compliment. They might say, thanks very much, you did really well. And often the Australian way is, don't worry about it. That was easy, don't worry about it, okay? How often do we say, you know what, thanks very much for that compliment. I really appreciate that feedback. Actually, I think I was actually quite good at that. Now, you might go, hang on, where's this come from? But that's about my 15 to 20 seconds. And in that moment, I'm now implanting that positive thought into my mind. So rather than just pushing it away, I'm actually planting positivity there. So when you think of all the opportunities you have with your thoughts to actually extend that out in those positive moments, I actually am good at that. Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate that. I'm now laying the foundation bricks for positive thinking. Let me ask you this. You go to bed at night, and just before you go to bed, is your mind filled with, well, I didn't get that done today, and I didn't get that done, and I probably didn't spend enough time with the kids, and I probably need to do that tomorrow, and I didn't get that? Or is your mind filled with, man, did I nail it today? I mean, I was just so good. It was unbelievable. I would challenge that it's probably the first thing. We go to bed probably with our negative thinking. So this is something that we really have to master. We have to master the ability to recognize our thoughts and point them in a direction where we want to go. Is that a positive thought for where I want to focus on with my goals, or is that a negative thought which is actually doing nothing for me and it's actually dragging me back? So hopefully I've just given you a little bit of an insight into a technique that I use and has been very valuable for me to go, how can I turn opportunities to do positive reinforcement to create that positive mindset, so that when I do something well, and it might even just be I do something on the computer, or I cooked a great meal at home for the family, and I go, you know what, Craig, you actually did a really good job tonight. People actually like that food. You're a really good cook. In that moment, it's not about being arrogant. Far from it. It's actually about just reinforcing what you're capable of. And what we want to do is build that foundation and build those blocks so that when you start to think about future opportunities, what comes to mind is all what you're capable of, not what you're not capable of. So you need to learn to master your mind, an extremely valuable technique as we go on this journey for now and your future life. Thanks, guys.